What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the show. My name is Trevor Cherney. Thank you so much for joining once again. Of course, we're gonna discuss the Lions and Rams game and the repercussions of the loss. Also, we're going to discuss the Sherrone Moore firing that really came out of nowhere. And there were rumors here and there, but we'll get more into that later on the show. And then, we'll probably talk about some serious injuries to the superstars in this league. So we'll get into that as well. So before we begin, please like and subscribe. Please share the podcast as well. Do all that fun stuff. Make sure you're sharing the podcast and liking it, subscribing to it as well. Helps out a ton. I appreciate it. So let's get right into it. So the Lions ends up losing the Rams. And the story of the game, to me at least, is this defense is just not good enough. Their secondary is very thin, and it's not good. DJ Reed has not been good since coming back to injury. So now hopefully he can get better. Hopefully he can improve. But so far he has not been good since returning from the injury. So obviously Brian Branch isn't playing. He's done for the year with torn Achilles. Kirby Joseph, his status is really up in the air. We don't know what his future is for the season. There's talks of him going on IR now. Taron Arnold's already gone for the year too. Like, the Lions are just getting incredibly thin in their secondary. And look, to be honest, like their defensive line is doing them no favors. Like, this front seven is just not good enough. They don't really bring any pressure. They don't really attack. They don't really stop the run. Like, what does this front seven actually do well, right? Do you guys remember Office Space, right? Great movie. Well, my whole question to the defensive line is, what does it exactly do here, right? Like, what are they doing on a game-by-game basis to ensure that this team is getting pressure on the quarterback, right, in passing situations, and also to stopping the run as well, which they haven't done? I mean, I felt like easily Kyron Williams or Blake Corum could have done what they wanted playing up against that defensive line, which can't stop the run or the pass for that matter. And look, the Lions offense could only do so much, right? I mean, they have problems as well. Their offensive line is a mess still. It's still not great. Jared Goff actually has a sneaky good season, Now, unfortunately, the Lions haven't played great football, and their chances of making the playoffs are not great. They seriously needed to win this game if they wanted a chance to get in the playoffs. And while they still can, obviously, it's not great now. It's not. Some data you see it at 43%. You see it at as low as 20%. I'm probably more in the middle. I'm probably I'll give it like a 36% shot to make the playoffs personally. For me, I'll probably say 36%. I don't have that high confidence in this team. I don't have the confidence in the coaching. And quite honestly, I think the coaching has been not good recently. And I like Dan Campbell still. Obviously, I still think he's a good coach. And clearly he can get his players to play hard for him. Like, there's no questions about that, right? I've had no questions or qualms about that. But it's in game though. It's decision making, right? For example, the Rams early on were very aggressive, okay? And it didn't matter if it was from, if it were 4th and 2, 4th and 5, or even 4th and 8, right? They're going to go for it because they know that how aggressive they need to be to win this game because they want to match the Lions' aggressiveness. Well, Campbell early on didn't want to be as aggressive, and he decided to play it safe. Now, I'm sorry, but when you're going up against a team like the LA Rams, who are better than you, by the way, you can't just play it safe. You have to take some risk, okay? Now, look, in a defensive battle game, okay, and if you are a defensive battle, that's when you play it safe, all right? This is not that. You have to be hyper-aggressive, especially to beat a team like the Rams, who are better than you. Much better, honestly. Better offensive line, better defensive line. It just is what it is. And they got weapons too. So I don't understand what Campbell was thinking with these soft calls and, we'll take a field goal here and, we won't go for it or, all here. You needed to set the tone that you are going to be aggressive and you are going to do whatever it takes to win this game. Because quite honestly, if you don't win this game, which they didn't, your chances of making the playoffs go significantly down. And they did. So, yeah, it's just... And the third quarter, too, that's becoming a pattern with this team, too. See, here's the thing, too, that people don't really pay attention to understand. Don't you notice that every time you watch this team that, if they have a lead by halftime, if it's by 10 or more points, right, and then the other team adjusts, the Lions just cannot adjust themselves, too, and they still think, we can still do what we did in the first half. No, you can. You have to adjust just like the other team did. And the Lions can't do that. How many leads have they had going to halftime and then blown? Because of a bad third quarter. Because the Lions can't adjust. It's becoming a pattern. It's becoming a trend. And guess what? That's on coaching. That's on Danny Campbell. He's the head coach. Come on, man. It's becoming a pattern. And it's not every game, but it's certain games that, and especially games where you're playing against better teams. Okay, it happened in the NFC Championship game too a couple of years back. The Lions have a 17-point lead going to the NFC Championship, going to halftime in the NFC Championship game, and they blew it in the third quarter. And we're seeing the same thing happen here. It's got to stop. It's seriously got to stop. Because you can't just expect the other team not to adjust. Of course they're going to adjust. You have to expect that. And it's not just a Dan Campbell issue, too. I've had problems with Holmes, too. He had a terrible offseason because he did largely nothing except cite DJ Reed, who has not been good. And I'm sorry, the last couple of draft classes have been awful, by the way. What impact player from the past two draft classes can you name right now? Okay? I mean, okay, Tate Radlich, maybe. I'm not ready to say Miles Frazier. If you want to say Tyleik Williams, fine, whatever. Besides those two, I mean, Terrion has been, I'm not sure what his future looks like with this team, honestly. He's had injury problems, and he just, honestly, and when he's played, he hasn't been great. So, and not doing anything at the trade deadline, not getting another pass rusher, and just basically sniffing your own farts and thinking that it smells good. That's what Brad Holmes is doing, essentially, right? He looked at his roster, this offseason. He looked at this roster during the trade deadline, and you know what he said? Oh, we're good. We don't need to add any more players. We're good where we are. Really? Because Dan Campbell had just admitted after the game on Sunday that the Rams, that's who the top of the NFC is. And we're not there. Gee, you don't say. Look, obviously they can still make the playoffs. They still have a chance. But I don't feel good about their chances. And honestly, I don't know if I want to see this team in the playoffs. I don't know if I want to see this defense in the playoffs. This defense is going to get trounced, just like last year, by any serious team. You seriously think, okay, so if the Lions are the 7th seed, okay, and then they face the number 2 seed, do you actually believe that this team could win that game? Whoever the 2 seeded, if it's the Seahawks, if it's the Eagles, if it's somebody else, I don't see it happening. I just, even if they get in the playoffs, it's really hard for me to imagine this team winning a game in the playoffs. With this defense, with this pass rush, which is basically non-existent. And the offense still has problems too. And they still have an offensive line problem too. So, this is not a Super Bowl team. And I would argue they're a borderline playoff team. Borderline. Because they're not bad. But they're also not good enough as well. The Lions right now are sort of in this weird middle where, yeah, they're not bad enough, but they're also not good enough either. So, Lions going forward, I don't feel good about their chances. Anyways, and we'll get into the Steelers game come Thursday. So, and then I wanted to mention also too the Sherrone Moore firing that happened last week, Wednesday. Randomly on a 4 o'clock, by the way. It was like 4 o'clock, 4:30 when it happened, when it all dropped. And he was fired for cause. And then after he was fired, he was promptly detained and arrested. And there's now several charges going against him as well. Look, the whole thing has been a mess, right? Now, I'm not going to say too much about the whole deal. I'm not going to say too much about what happened, but he was involved in an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. The school found out through DoorDash. If you want to look it up and read more about it, you can. I won't go for any further than that. But yeah, it has been pretty for Michigan. And for Sherrone, look, what I'll say about Sherrone is I personally never really liked him as a head coach, and I never really, and there was always something with his personality that that always rubbed me the wrong way. Like whenever I watch press conferences or whenever I see him do like post-game interviews, I'm just like, there's something about this cat that I don't like. And with everything that came out about what happened and why he was fired for cause, and then him getting promptly arrested not too long after that, and you just learned that Sherrone Moore is not a good dude. Like, as a person, he may be just a total and just not a good dude whatsoever. And he's now put himself in a position where he will probably never have another coaching job in college football ever again. Well, especially D1. Maybe like a small D2 or D3 school would be willing to hire Sherrone, but I could never see him. I could never see him getting another D1 coaching job ever again. Because why would they want to hire him after everything that's come out? And look, he put himself in that position. Clearly, he did for what he did, and I feel for his family, for his wife, for his three daughters. Just it's just awful. The whole situation is just awful. And it's just it was just a lot came out, and it's been rough. It's been rough for Sherrone and for his family. But again, he put himself in that situation in that position too. So he didn't have to, but he did. And now you got to reap what you sow. He will. And I'm glad Michigan did the right thing by firing him. Because, yes, obviously he should have been fired, obviously. Now, of course, the question is, who do they get to replace Sherrone as the next Michigan football head coach? I would say they definitely need to go after Kalen DeBoer from Alabama. They definitely need to go after him. Apparently, they're trying really hard to get Kenny Dillingham from Arizona State, which he's a bit of a weirdo, but ultimately he has made Arizona State successful. So now the problem is that he's been at Arizona State forever, and he has ties to that school, going back to his collegiate years. So I'm not sure if he'll be willing to leave for Michigan. But hey, in this day and age, maybe, probably so. But yeah. But with all that being said, here's the thing though. The Michigan athletic department is a mess. Okay. How many scandals have they had under Ward Manuel since he came in as AD back in 2016? They've had scandals in the hockey program, in the basketball program, and multiple scandals in the football program. Think about that. All within a almost 10-year span. It's been scandal after scandal after scandal. And whose fault is that? Right? Now, it should fall on the AD's shoulders. It should. Like, Ward Manuel should not have a job. He should be fired for having years and years of scandals. So now, as of right now, Michigan is doing a full investigation into the athletic department of Michigan. So, depending on what they find there, Ward may be out of a job soon, which is good. Look, honestly, Michigan needs to move on from him. They really need to. He has done nothing good for the program, and there has been scandal after scandal after scandal. He needs to go. He needs to get out, especially when it's your three biggest programs, arguably: football, basketball, hockey. He's got to go. Why is Ward still there? Why is he still employed? He's got to go. And see, they shouldn't even do this investigation. Just fire the man. Just get it done over with. What do you need to investigate? These scandals happen. Get him out of there. He's garbage. Not as a person, but just as an athletic director of one of the most prestige and one of the top 5 schools in America. He has done that whole athletic department a disservice it's not been good. It's been terrible. Absolutely terrible. So that's your own, and what's going on currently on with Michigan right now. Really quickly, I want to talk about there's been 2 massive injuries that happened over the weekend. involving two superstars of this league. One being Patrick Mahomes tearing his ACL and LCL as well. So presumably he's out for about, let's call it 9 months. So maybe the Chiefs will get him back in late September, maybe October. I have no idea. He may want to try and come back earlier, but honestly, you got to be careful with somebody like Patrick Mahomes, who is the face of that franchise. Like, you have to protect your superstars at all costs. And here's the thing too. Patrick Mahomes is just getting older. Like, he's not in his 20s anymore. He's 30, And yeah, obviously he still plays a high level. But unfortunately, when you get older, right? And when you've taken as many hits as he has over the past 9-10 years he's been the NFL, or 9 or 10 seasons in the NFL, your body is not going to be the same. So I fear that this might be something worse down the line. Hopefully not, and maybe he'll come back from the ACL injury better than ever. I wouldn't be surprised. He is Patrick Mahomes. But if I were the Chiefs, I would do everything it took to protect him better, right? Because he shouldn't be running this much. He's run more the past 2 seasons than he has in his entire career. Think about that. And that's because of his offensive line. Just hasn't been good enough. Yeah, the Chiefs are whole, but the Chiefs as a whole, they're done. At least as we know, the Chiefs as we know them in the past, right? The past 5 years, that's done. Like, it's over with. Kelsey's gonna retire this season. At least I hope so, because he's a dead corpse. I'm not sure about Andy Reid, but we'll see what happens with that. And then, depending, how long the recovery is for Mahomes, you might be missing Mahomes for at least a good chunk of the season next year. It's been a nightmare season for the Chiefs. It's been a disaster for the Chiefs. And clearly things have not gone their way this season, clearly. And now, unfortunately, the worst case scenario happened, and Mahomes is now out for the rest of the year, and he might be out for at least a little while next season too. So we'll see about that one. And then the other injury that happened, also another ACL tear as well, was Micah Parsons for the Packers. So the Packers were playing the Broncos, and then Micah injured his knee. It was a non-contact injury though, which is really scary when it's non-contact like that. So hopefully he's okay. But the Packers, their season's done. Like, they can't lose somebody like Micah Parsons and expect to win a Super Bowl. So, they'll probably get in the playoffs, obviously, and especially if they win that division too, which they might. So they'll probably get in the playoffs. But they're going to be without their superstar, though, in Micah Parsons. And, that's game-changing. That defensive line is not going to be as good. The pass rush, not going to be as good. It's going to hurt the secondary, too, because they won't have to, because the secondary will have to do more because the defensive line, because while we're missing Micah, that's a big deal, right? Micah Parsons is one of the best players in the NFL currently, right? I mean, name me a better pass rusher right now than Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons. Because I would argue those are the two best pass rushers right now. You can't. That's how important Micah is to the whole team, to the defensive line. So, the Packers might be screwed, and their Super Bowl hopes may have completely turned upside down. So, anyways, That's it for today's show. Thank you so much. We'll be back later this week with another show. We'll discuss the Lions and Steelers game and a lot more else. I appreciate you all. Remember to like and subscribe. Maybe to share with your friends and family as well. I appreciate you all. Have a good one. I'll see you later.